What if there was a new form of healing that would change the world as we know it? A form or an energy of healing that could help to cure some of these so-called indescribable and incurable diseases. Well, that exists. And I think we understand intuitively that it exists, and that if it doesn't exist now, it will soon. But today, specifically, we're talking about a groundbreaking technology that's never been done before. It stems back from Nikola Tesla and all the research that he's done. Today, we're talking about scalar light, scalar energy. And we're talking to the man specifically who has continued the research into this realm in order to transform the world, introduce this groundbreaking technology to make an extraordinary and a groundbreaking difference. That man's name is Tom Paladino, who you're going to see here with me in just a second. But you know the only fee for watching the show, which is to share this show with one person. Share the show with one person who wants to hear about this groundbreaking technology. Share this with one person who you know will spread the word so that we can get this out to the masses. But I can already tell you might be skeptical about some of the things that I just said here. And if you weren't, I'd be surprised. This is new stuff. These are new ideas that we haven't talked about before. And I'm going to dive in with Tom to talk about what some of the skepticism looks like so we can debunk it. We can talk about exactly how it works, what the process looks like for you if you undertook it yourself, and all of these interesting things. So without further ado, let's talk to Tom Paladino. And for those who don't know Tom is a researcher and humanitarian who is seeking to make a difference in the world by providing people with the education and the tools to restore optimal health and by helping enhance their quality of life. Tom began research with this energy called scalar energy during his undergraduate years after developing a deep admiration for the father of scalar energy research, Nikola Tesla. The existence of such energy is not found within the electromagnetic spectrum, which fascinated Tom. He pursued a course of independent study seeking to better understand and harness this scalar energy through the development of an instrument called scalar light. Just simply fascinating. Tom, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for your interest.
I got to ask you to simply, how would you describe this idea of scalar energy or scalar light? And how did you even stumble and come into this world?
Scalar light is a fundamental force. It originates from the sun and the stars. And I say this so often. Everybody is adept at that science, scalar light. It's sunlight, starlight. Sadly, academia does not recognize this energy spectrum, this energy dimension. Great scientists such as Nikola Tesla developed scalar energy instruments. So I continue on within that course of action. And I believe this has great promise. It's a technology that is like none other. And I want to bring to the attention of the world that this technology exists, that I have scalar light instruments. And what you can do with scalar light far exceeds the capability of electricity.
You know, a lot of people have heard of Nikola Tesla, but they simply haven't done a lot of research on it, and he hasn't been given the justice that he deserves in terms of his experiments being brought to light. I'm ignorant in the field of everything that he's working on and with his history as well, but from my understanding, he had a lot of research. He had a lot of findings that were never brought to light simply because of the controversial nature of them, and also from quote unquote them not wanting the world to hear about these things. Is that true? And could you give us like a synopsis on that or a look into that?
That is true and accurate. The day that Nikola Tesla died, the federal government of the United States raided his apartment, confiscated his notes and his inventions. Many of them were scalar energy inventions, and we've never seen them. Why? This technology is like none other. This technology will make many existing paradigms obsolete. This scalar energy technology will make many technologies within the framework of the industrial military complex obsolete. And with that, this technology is such a threat to the status quo that there is an active suppression against this type of movement.
Now, I want to ask you how you got yourself in this field, but speaking about this scalar energy and scalar light, what can it do? What are the benefits? What was Tesla putting all of his time and research and energy in? What are you putting all your time and research into? What is the benefit of this technology?
So let me pique the curiosity of the audience. If this is sunlight and starlight, it is, then as a source of energy, it's unlimited. So when I tap into this spectrum of energy, scalar energy, I have an infinite power supply, and I do not create the energy. Now, so to speak, with turbines and nuclear reactors and hydrothermal plants, you have to set up a rather extensive framework or grid work, if you will, to harness that energy. To the contrary, scalar energy, you simply need an instrument to capture sunlight or starlight. So what am I saying? The power plant of the future are the stars. You do not need a nuclear reactor. You have the stars. You do not need to dig for coal. You have the stars. You do not need to drill for oil. You have an infinite number of stars. So what am I getting at? You simply capture this star energy, harness it, and that's the new power plant, star energy.
And what are the benefits of this star energy? When you harness this energy and you use it with intention, what are some of the findings behind this energy, and what's the craze all about?
Okay. Well, Tesla in his day developed towers, scalar energy towers in Wardenclyffe, Long Island, and Colorado Springs. And he was able to send energy, scalar energy, at a distance. So that was a wireless transmission of energy. So he did not need a power plant. He did not need a network of wires or substations. He simply could broadcast scalar energy and illuminate objects. And that was proven. And other inventors have done that. I've been able to illuminate objects in my laboratory locally. So what's the point here? This is a new way of living. And if scalar energy offers an unlimited source of energy, well, there goes the energy crisis. And secondly, this energy from the stars is clean. It's immaculate. There is no chemical residue. It's not a chemical. And hence there's no chemical emission. There is no carbon footprint. So you're working with non-physical energy, an unlimited source of energy that's about to power the world and is about to make obsolete the energy spectrum, the existing energy paradigm.
You say it's going to make it obsolete, but I mean, you know better than anyone else that there's many forces out there and institutions who would stop at nothing to eliminate this from ever being known, talked about.
Right.
How do you plan in your because you said you're the only person out there doing this right now. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is God's master plan. And what has been revealed to me is that this will work, and that God is behind this movement now. And what has been suppressed with Tesla and other researchers like Hieronymus, now is the time. And that with a groundswell of support from the people will demand this. So this is God's master plan. This will come to fruition sometime. I can't predict exactly when, but you cannot keep this under wraps, so to speak. This is no longer a secret, and it can no longer be suppressed.
If you had to predict when would you say?
Candidly, I would hope that God gives me the wisdom within the next 10 years to be able to send energy by way of scalar energy and to produce that and to demonstrate that repeatedly. And in so doing, if I can demonstrate the transmission of scalar energy at a distance to illuminate objects, then that's the beginning of the end of the energy crisis, so to speak.
So interesting. So you're saying that with the instruments you have where you are right now in Florida, you would be able to illuminate an object from anywhere in the world. Is that true?
Correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. You see, there's no die-off with this signal. It does not experience entropy. There's no degradation of the signal. What do I mean? Electricity experiences entropy, some type of die-off, so to speak. Scalar energy is an eternal signal. It does not degrade. So when you're working with this energy, you can send energy to a far distant galaxy. It will not experience entropy.
Wow. This topic is unlike anything else I've ever discussed, and I guarantee those listening are thinking the same things. It's important that we know the man behind the research. How did you find yourself in this field? What originally fascinated you? Like, who was Tom Paladino when Tom Paladino first discovered scalar energy and dove all of his focus and attention into this?
As a youngster, I was gifted. I had the gift of the Holy Spirit. And I would read about Tesla and other scientists, and I knew they were onto something. And I knew that there was another type of energy. And that it became very clear to me that Tesla, with his accomplishments, he was no longer working with AC electricity at the latter part of his life. Meaning what? That Tesla had discovered this energy, scalar energy, had perfected its use, and was able to give to the world free energy. But nefarious forces stood in his way. So my point being, I made it, to my point, I made my mind up that I would continue on with his work as best I could. And there are a few scalar energy researchers that are having success duplicating his work. And, I want to make this very clear. Tesla is unmatched. I am simply trying to duplicate his work. What has been accomplished before, over 100 years ago, by Tesla, I hope to be able to catch up to him and duplicate his work. And in so doing, with the internet and with a groundswell of support, now this time it will work. Keep in mind, Tesla was ostracized, and Tesla did not have the internet. Thank God that you and I have the internet today to promulgate this. And during Tesla's day, we did not have that means of amplification.
Yeah, Tesla didn't have podcasts that he could jump on to share his message and talk about what he was doing. I'm curious, based on your own opinion and research of Tesla, what was so unmatched about this man?
Frequently, Tesla would say he would have a download or some type of a flatus or some type of mystical experience, and he would be shown the schematics to an invention. Many of his inventions, of his own admission, he never invented. He received an intellectual vision. Let's call it an intellectual vision. He could see an invention. So he would go to his laboratory and simply build a device, build an instrument. Now, that obviates trial and error. That obviates years of experimentation. So obviously God wanted Tesla to know these things. He gave them that download. He gave him that wisdom. And you put all of that together. That was God's will. What he achieved is unmatched. He was one man, and God could work with one man and give him that mystical insight. My goodness, he's never been. There's no parallel to him.
Wow. Now I want to ask you about the results for people. You've mentioned how this will solve the energy crisis, which is absolutely true, right? And that's like the grand scheme of things. Right. For the individual person, how do you help people with the scalar energy? And I have a couple questions with this, but how specifically do you help the individual person? Is it certain ailments? How can this help the person?
Okay, so I'll explain, but keep in mind, I'm going to preface my remarks. This is not electricity. This is a new branch of physics. When I work with people, I work by way of their photograph. This is my photograph. I'll actually receive an email photograph of a person and place their photograph inside my instrument. Why? A photograph carries their light field. This is my photograph, and it carries energy. My face, my skin carries energy, scalar energy. So when I work with people around the world, likewise, my instrument works like a satellite. People do not come to me, I go to the people. If Tesla could send energy at a distance, I can likewise send energy at a distance through a photograph. What am I getting at? My photograph carries my constitution. My photograph is my energetic copy. And when I'm working with people around the world by way of a photograph, I can access their energy dimension or their scalar energy aura or their spirit. Now, keep in mind, I don't work with people or animals. I work with photographs of people or animals. This is the new science. And in so doing, I can send information into that realm, information that serves to improve what I consider their quantum health. So when I'm sending information, one of the functions that I've perfected is the ability to identify a microbe and break apart that microbe. So scalar energy allows me to identify viruses, bacteria, fungi, and then break down the molecular bonds that hold together that microbe. That in and of itself proves that scalar energy controls, to some extent, a molecular form. I believe it's consummate control over molecular form, meaning what? A scalar energy instrument allows me to assess a molecular bond, say of a virus, and negate that molecular bond. And in so doing, the virus shatters or it disassembles. Now, my action is not in the electromagnetic spectrum. My action is in the scalar energy spectrum. So this action has nothing to do with electricity. It's a different branch of physics, so to speak. So my work is groundbreaking. Only my predecessor, a man by the name of Galen Hieronymus, was able to achieve what I'm achieving today. So to underscore all of this, this is new, it's different, it's a new branch of physics. And I believe I'm the only one in the world with this ability right now because I have this unique instrumentation. This unique instrumentation allows me to perform these incredible functions. You have to have this type of technology in order to achieve these results.
When you place a person's photograph in your technology, how do you know that is actually making a difference for the person that you are serving?
Very good. I don't. I have to rely upon people. Now, let me put this into motion. I live in the United States. A few years ago, I started working with people in Tanzania. I've never been to Africa, by the way. And people in Tanzania sent me their photographs. They were suffering from HIV infection. And I work with them. And just 2 weeks ago, I received reports from these people that I worked with in Tanzania that they no longer have HIV. All of them are healthy. Not one of them has an HIV viral load. None of them have any symptoms of HIV viral disease. Now, without their firsthand account, their firsthand testimony, I would not know. So this is very much dependent upon a person's outcome and their firsthand testimony, because I never work with people in my lab. I only work with their photograph. So if the connection will ever be made, then it will be the new science that I speak about, how a photograph in my lab has a connection with a person thousands of miles away, in Africa for this matter. And if that is the case, then this is action at a distance. And this is going back to Tesla's work of sending scalar energy at a distance, a power of scalar energy at a distance to perform a work function. So if Tesla could send scalar energy and illuminate an object at a distance, then I can send scalar energy and break apart a germ, a microbe, at a distance.
And how did you even know originally that you'd be able to send this energy to break apart a microbe or a virus? How did you even know that was a possibility? Is that work that Tesla also did himself?
That Tesla did that, and Hieronymus was successful to a limited extent working with microbes and other types of primitive life forms. So again, I'm relying upon Tesla and Hieronymus, two incredible scientists. I can't say I'm the originator of these concepts, but I'm following them up. And I give them credence by all means. So it's been done before by Tesla and Hieronymus, and the key is repeating their experiments. And in so doing, it's demonstrable that I can repeat this any day without exception. So I'm observing the laws of nature. Okay, if it was by chance, it might work one time out of 1,000. It works 100% of the time. My point is this: What Tesla and Hieronymus achieved, they could do so because they were working with the fundamental force of nature, scalar energy. And when you're working with a primal force, it's dependable. Energy does what you tell it to do. And likewise, I have these stellar results, these stellar outcome. So I must be working with the fundament of nature. When you're working with light never makes a mistake. I say that frequently. Scalar energy does not make a mistake. It's fundamental. You can count on it.
How long were you working with these individuals in Tanzania with HIV before you heard back from them that many of them have reported that they no longer have HIV?
I started the work in 2017, and they felt better immediately, but it was a new process to them. So over the years, 2017 and 18, all of their test results were negative. And then we were hit by the pandemic in 2019 and 20. So that put, if you will, a damper on our continued progress. But I just heard back from them now. This is late 2021. And after 4 years and after multiple PCR tests, everybody's HIV negative. Everybody.
Wow.
Everybody.
How many subjects?
The specific study that we've conducted is just 10 people, but out of the thousands of people that I've worked with, anybody who's had a HIV test is proven that the HIV test now is negative, no viral load. Now, this is thousands of people that I've worked with just in Africa who've gone on to get a PCR test. I'm not to be very clear, I've already worked with millions of people in Africa, millions of people. But those who followed up and had a PCR test confirming for their benefit, every PCR test is negative.
How can you work with millions of people if you're the one man who is furthering this research with the technology you have? And you have to have a picture of all these individuals, put it in the instrument. How does that physically happen?
The instrument can easily work with 2, 3, 4, 5 million photographs at a time. So I don't work with one photograph at a time. I have a collection of collages. For instance, this is a collage. And I could easily work with a collage of 100 people or a series of collages. And I would say the capability of the instrument right now, if we miniaturize a photograph, we could easily work with 5 million people simultaneously. So consider what I'm saying. A scalar energy instrument can easily work with 5 million people around the world by way of their photograph and provide healing in the quantum realm by way of their photograph.
Why are you the only person out there who is furthering this research? That blows my mind that you have real results, yet you, out of the billions of people, or if we're talking about people who'd be even able to do this, still millions, why are you the only person, Tom?
Let me answer that question, but let me preface my remarks. Yes, I'm the only person achieving this. Secondly, I don't hide. I have a rather perspicuous, if you will, website, and I attend many radio interviews and podcasts. What's the point here? This work is being suppressed. If I'm having such great results, why is this not being heard around the world? With social media and the fact that we have the means to promulgate this message, what's the point here? There's an active suppression against my work. Why? It's a threat to the status quo. I've been at this now, Brandon, for 10 years. For the past 10 years, I've been able to readily, easily destroy a virus. And why is it that this work is not being heard around the world? Well, it's kind of obvious. It's an act of suppression.
Have they ever attempted to shut you down?
No, for 2 reasons. I'm protected by God. And secondly, what I'm doing has never been recognized. It's a new science. There is no law for and against this.
It's a new science to the public, but not a new science to the powers that be, per se.
Yeah, but true. But in order to go about this through a legislative process, you'd have to define scalar energy. Nobody can do that. then you'd have to ascertain the merit of sending scalar energy into a photograph. Nobody's ever done that. I'm 10, 20 years ahead of the curve here. And, academia does not accept this. The legal system is flummoxed. They have not the slightest idea what I'm doing. So I'm protected by God, first and foremost. But I predict it will take at least 20 years for academia to catch up to this, because academia is really at the beck and call of the powers that be. Academia is no longer what I would consider independent. They're dependent very much so on the status quo.
There's just so many questions. I want to ask you about the specific process, but before I do that, scalar energy is the blocks that build the universe. Okay. Why is an instrument necessary in order for people to derive benefit from this energy if it's so abundant around us? And why isn't it? And is it helping us on a day-to-day basis, even without these instruments?
It is. Sunlight, starlight is really the life force energy. Without sunlight and starlight, there would be no life. There would be no biological life. There would be no spiritual life in the universe. So, what we experience is the passive appreciation of sunlight and starlight. What I am doing with scalar energy, I'm going about and being very specific as to how to apply that sunlight and starlight. It's to use an analogy, what is electricity? It's a flow of electrons, so to speak. Well, my room right now is flooded with electrons, but I would have to harness those electrons to develop a current and then to derive power from that stream of electrons. So as science unfolds, we will realize that there are so many applications of scalar energy. Yes, it is omnipresent. Yes, it's the presence of God. But in order to tap into that dimension and to control it, that is the real science. That's the point I'm making. To be able to control, harness scalar energy and then direct it, and to have that energy perform a function, to perform some type of work performance. That's the key.
I got to ask this because, the power of suggestion is so powerful. Mm. And you're using this equipment in order to, would you say this is correct in saying, in essence, you are channeling scalar light to specific people by using their essence, which is a photograph? Is that the general essence of things? Okay.
Yeah. Everybody has a spirit, an aura, and that's what I'm tapping into. Keep in mind, everything with scalar energy is non-physical. Okay. So what am I saying? I'm not tapping into flesh and blood. I'm tapping into your aura or your spirit or your energetic field.
And my question then is, what effect do you believe, or even like what percentage of an effect does your own aura have in creating this change? Because you can't put a photograph in this machine without you physically putting this photograph in the machine. So your essence is, in essence, combined with that of other people.
Yes.
Are you and your intention, what is the power of intention when it comes to seeing these transformations, at least in your own opinion?
Sure. First of all, I always pray when I'm working with this instrument, because I believe prayer augments, or prayer, if you will, supplements this quantum healing. Now, do people have to participate in this? It would help, and if they do participate, it would abet the healing. But I will also use this as a distinction. Many times I work with pets, dogs, horses, cats. And those animals do not know that I'm treating them, but pets respond favorably. So my point is, yes, we can accept this healing and amplify it and accelerate it, but also it cannot be stopped. Keep in mind, this is a primal force in nature. You cannot impede a primal force in nature. And dogs, cats, birds, etc., horses, they experience this energy. And they improve. Their health improves likewise.
How has this helped animals in your experience? Like, what results or case studies have you had in terms of animals, and like, what are people sending pictures of animals to you for? What do they want solved?
Yeah, many animals have bacterial, viral infection, fungal infection. Animals, God bless them, they live off the ground many times, and they're constantly licking something, or they're eating food that is unsanitary. So I'm able to eradicate pathogens from animals, and I'm also able to work with, obviously, animals at a distance. Somebody years ago sent me photographs from Asia of elephants. Elephants had a viral infection, and after I worked with those photographs of the elephants, the report back was that the elephants feel just fine, and they no longer have any viral disease, and the elephants responded favorably. Well, I've never had an elephant in my laboratory. I've worked with photographs of elephants.
Yeah. Now you offer many different services on your website, which, by the way, everyone, scalarlight.com is in the description for you to go check this out, do your own research, and also see what Tom offers that can help you. On your website, there's many different things. And the question I have in a second here is, me without physical ailments, right? I'm blessed to be in perfect health. How can this channeling of scalar energy help somebody such as myself to operate at peak performance? But before I ask that, how does this machine and this technology and the scalar light, how does it know what to pinpoint its energy towards? In essence, let's say you're helping these individuals in Tanzania and you're helping them with HIV, AIDS as one piece, but how does it know to do that versus to help these individuals release weight or bacteria? Or how does it know what to focus on?
Okay. In many ways, the energy is self-directed, has an intelligence to itself. And in many ways, I have to instruct it. So for instance, I'm holding in my hand a photograph, a magnified photograph of the herpes virus. In order for me to download and instruct the instrument to destroy the herpes virus, I would place this photograph of the herpes virus in the instrument right next to my photograph. Now, what's my point? Scalar energy is communication, it's intelligence. So the intelligence of herpes will now be shared into my photograph, into my force field as a photograph. So I have these two photographs that serve as an informational bridge, if you will. The herpes photograph downloads energy instructions into my photograph. And in so doing, if I were to have the herpes virus that would be detected on my photograph, it would be destroyed. So I take a photograph of a microbe, I match it up to the photograph of the person, and we can eradicate that microbe by way of that intelligence, by way of that photographic download, that photographic informational input.
Curiously asking, because thank you for answering that, by the way, and it blows my mind. I mean, all of this is just blowing my mind. Do you personally believe that this was channeled aeons before Tesla? Do you believe that this ever was used by us or whatever was before? What are your thoughts on that yourself?
Many cultures have considered this. What some call chi, prana, we call today 0-point energy or scalar energy. So many of the faith healers called upon this, which is appropriate. It's God's energy. It's God's light. So this is not a new concept. It's just poorly understood. I want to make that very clear. People who have healing hands, they have healing hands because scalar energy is broadcast from their hands. People who have the ability to heal by way of prayer or suggestion or by some type of coaching, that really is a form of scalar energy healing, whether it's healing hands or healing by way of prayer. Wow. So this is not a new concept. I simply have an instrument now that controls healing, that controls this life force energy. Now, I'll go back over 100 years ago. We were learning how to marshal electricity, AC electricity. And then we just realized that AC electricity had so many applications. Well, that's where we're at right now with scalar energy. It has so many applications. it's a rather versatile energy once again. So to this point, we're going to explore how many other applications scalar energy has.
You talk about healing hands and prayer and the use of this force without technology. Is this something that you believe that one can learn to possess? Have you tried this yourself without technology? And is this something that can be done with the mind being the technology itself?
Yes, to answer your question, and everybody has that capability. I frequently tell people that the human mind and the human heart are vessels of scalar energy. When we think, those really are scalar waves. When we pray, those are scalar waves. Our emotion are scalar waves. So how can you prove this non-physical reality? By way of non-physical energy. So prayer, thought, emotions, creativity, intuition, consciousness, that's the non-physical realm. That's the information realm. And everybody has a mind and a heart, and everybody can access scalar energy. We do this every day, 24 hours a day. People simply do not realize how powerful their mind is, how powerful their emotion is.
Have you used this with those who have cancer? And if so, what have the results been?
I've not perfected cancer.
Yeah. Interesting.
I do believe that scalar energy can be used to correct a mutation. So in the future, if God will give me the wisdom, I'll give him all the glory from here to kingdom come, so to speak. But I don't have that wisdom yet.
Well, I appreciate you telling me that. I had to ask. I know there is a lot that this does work with and for, based on your own results. My question is, for those who are in perfect health, how can you assist? Let's talk about me. How can you assist someone like me who is in perfect health? I already feel great. How would you work with someone like me to channel this energy?
That's a good point. Everybody has some type of germ or pathogenic infection. So working through your photograph, we can always identify some pathogen or germ. Many of those germs are latent, but they could result in disease or some type of neurological impairment in the future. The instrument will also balance our brain waves, our chakras. So everybody could benefit from having their brain waves or their chakras balanced. And then another function I haven't spoken about yet, the instrument is able to create nutrients. What do I mean? Everybody has elements in their body. I simply rearrange the elements in the human body, in the quantum body, to form a mineral, an antioxidant, an amino acid. So the energy can be directed into a photograph, into a person's quantum field, to actually rearrange micronutrients, to create micronutrients.
And that's the science. But when people give you a testimonial, and on everyone, just so you're listening, we're going to talk about this too, but on scalarlight.com, Tom offers 15 days of free Scalar Light sessions. He does that because he understands there's skepticism around this, because it's brand new. It's not being done.
Correct.
Right? What are the testimonies that you hear from people even within a few weeks after they start working with you? Like, what do you hear from people?
Many people say within the first few days they can feel the energy. They feel that perhaps their sinuses are draining, or they feel that the chakra balancing has improved their concentration, or has improved their mood, their disposition. Some people go as far as to say that it can correct or reverse depression or anxiety. Now, that chakra balancing, I don't have control over, meaning what? The way the Holy Spirit is going to correct your conscience, the way God is going to correct your 7 chakras, that's up to God. I simply work with this instrument, and I allow God's light perform that healing. But I would say the greater majority of people after 15 days say that they experience something. It's hard for them to put their finger on it. Why? This is brand new. Most people have never experienced a scalar light instrument. Most people have never considered how scalar energy could affect their spiritual, their mental, their physical health.
And this is something that you can't just write off unless you actually do it yourself, see the difference. I mean, I am one to say that the power of suggestion is real. And it's so powerful. I can go up to somebody, put my hand on their heart and say, you are healed. And they'll believe that. And because of their belief, they will show physical signs with their body that they do believe it. They'll either be healed, they'll feel better. Like, the power of suggestion is so powerful, to the point where, in my mind, if I hand you a photograph of me, you put it in this machine, me knowing that I sent a photograph to you with a specific intention, that alone could create a difference. I mean, we've all heard placebo. You must have entertained this thought of, and I'm not discounting all your research. I mean no disrespect by saying this, but how do you know that this is not simply the power of belief?
And it could be, and it could very well be. But the only distinction as to, I don't know of any case studies in which people who've had herpes or Epstein-Barr virus or HIV virus, after a scalar energy session or any type of session, no longer have Epstein-Barr, herpes, or HIV. So what I have achieved, the ability to work with people around the world, and by their admonition, by their testimony, they're telling me they no longer have the herpes virus or the HIV virus. That is unique. I don't know of anybody in the world who's ever received a feedback as such. I receive this every day. This is common. So I would use that distinction. Yes, there is autosuggestion. Yes, there is a placebo effect. Yes, people can participate in their healing, or if this is the impetus that people need, then so be it. But I will speak about life forms, primitive life forms, viruses, bacteria, fungi, okay? Unicell microorganisms, in which people say that they no longer are infected with those microorganisms. Now, can I prove that? That's the if you will, the mounting evidence. Now, keep in mind, this is a new science. There is no scientific protocol. It's never been done before. There is no right way or wrong way yet. We simply have to explore the correct way to go about testing this.
Well, I appreciate you entertaining the question, and
Yeah.
You make really great points. You make great points. How do you work with people? So and I know you don't work with people, you work with the photograph, the essence of people. Again, it's important that we make that distinction, right? But let's say you wanted to work with me and I wanted to take advantage of the 15 days of free Scalar Light sessions with you on your website, which is scalarlight.com, link in the description.
Right.
What does that process look like? After I add to cart, checkout, what does that look like, Tom?
Okay. Let me say first that the reason we offer 15 days of sessions, we want this to be acceptable, non-threatening, and we want people to be motivated to sign up. Okay. I in no way induce people to sign up. So once people sign up, then we perform these three modalities on a daily basis: the microbial cleanse, the chakra balancing, and the nutrient therapy. And on a daily basis, we will send an email notice explaining what we're doing. Okay? Education is the key here. And then we allow people after 15 days to reflect upon it and to see the before and after results. I'm all about performance, and I'm about results. I want to see results. So I allow people after 15 days to say, yes, there has been a change, or no, I've not experienced anything. The key with a new technology is people have to become comfortable with it, and people have to experience it. And the only way that I know the best to do that is giving away free sessions. If I have to treat the world for free, I'll treat the world for free. And if that's what it's going to take, then that's what it will take.
You say we. Do you have a team of people, or is this you who is spending all this time?
No, we have a team, and the team is growing on a monthly basis. I'm working with Christian missionaries and activists around the world. The word is out now. We're having great results. So on any given day, I could easily receive photographs of 1,000 people or 10,000 people. So I'm receiving photographs from around the world once again. So the point being is that you can't stop a good thing, so to speak. And people are seeing great results. So I have people on various countries around the world that send me photographs, and I treat them for free.
I've seen pictures of because on the website, guys, scalarlight.com, I've seen pictures of the technology themselves, the contraptions that you use. How much room does all this take? Is it a small machine? Is it a big machine? Has it grown?
It's a gigantic laboratory.
Wow.
And people ask me, well, Tom, why don't you duplicate it? I can't. It's taken me a lifetime to do this. This is all custom built, engineered, scientific equipment. So these are not small instruments. They're very delicate. They have to be maintained properly. Sadly, Hieronymus, my predecessor, had and I was in his laboratory. He had a gigantic laboratory. It consumed the entire house. So this is not a small. They're not small instruments. This is not anything that can be produced or reproduced in a flash. This is a lifetime of work.
I'm for anything that's making a difference in other people's lives, whether it's one thing or another thing. If it's helping people and healing people, whether it's the technology, the scalar light, power belief, whatever it is, if it's working and if it's helping, I'm a big proponent of that. What percentage of your time would you say goes towards the healing itself versus furthering this research to further advance this movement?
I'm in the laboratory 3 hours a day working with people. And the rest of the day, the other 7-8 hours, I'm researching. So I usually put in 10, 11 hours a day. And this is all I do. Okay, there is no second job. I don't spend time on the tennis court. This is all consumed.
And congratulations, by the way, on your growth and the results that you're seeing and the life that you've been able to create for yourself, but also for the results in the positive good that you've been able to do for other people.
Thank you.
What does it require in order to continue to spread this technology and spread the word and bring it to more awareness? I know you're doing it just by being here, having this conversation with us, but what can we do as a people to further, just so we can learn more, but as well as help other people?
I can't accentuate this enough. The power of one person and the power of this podcast. Eventually, this thousands, tens of thousands, perhaps millions of people will watch this podcast in the future. And that's the only way that this is getting out. Sadly, social media has blocked this message. Okay, social media, Facebook, Twitter, they won't carry my work. The algorithms are against me. So what is my point? There is a suppression. Okay, for this great news, for these favorable results to be suppressed year after year, this is not by accident. This is a concerted effort by the powers that be not to allow this technology into the public domain. Well, thank you for being so brave. And what you're doing, Brandon, is bringing this to the awareness of people. The bottom line is this, people. If you look at my website, there are thousands of testimonies. I had no influence. There was no coercion over those testimonies. Many of those testimonies include PCR tests of people who claim that they no longer are infected with herpes, who claim that they're no longer infected with the HIV virus, who claim that they're no longer infected with the cytomegalovirus. Now, those viruses are incurable. This is not my opinion. The body of evidence are the testimonies of people around the world, which is really a broad-based group. It's really, if you will, a nice random group, if I may say so, people around the world who claim that their health is better. I can prove my work in my laboratory. I cannot prove that people feel better. Only people can submit their testimony.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, I want you guys to look into this yourself, because you have to go to the website. When I was researching Tom before this conversation, I spent a lot of time on the website, read the testimonials. I looked at how it worked. I read about Tom. I looked at what he offered. go to scalarlight.com, do your own research, and try for yourself. I mean, listen, if you tried something, and I plan to, and it helps you, then what does it matter how it's working, right? I mean, you don't need to believe in gravity, yet gravity works regardless of whether you believe in it or not. This can be the same thing. Try something new so we can spread this word. I'm going to be doing more research into this myself. And I guess, Tom, my final question for you is, what is, in this next chapter of your life, what is the vision you have? I know we talked about 10 years from now, but in this chapter, what are you working towards currently?
You know, with people power, with the world getting behind this, I want, one of my milestones, one of my benchmarks is to treat a billion with a B, a billion people a year by way of their photograph. That is not an offhanded remark. Okay, that is not what I consider an unprincipled remark. It would be easy to work with a billion people a year if people get behind us and start sending us collages like this. On any given day, my instruments can easily work with 5 million, 10 million people a day. Well, multiply that by 365 days out of a year. It's not difficult for me to work with 2, 3, 4, 5 million people a day. The instruments can do that. I can do that. What I need is people around the world taking photographs. I'm not going to take 4 million photographs a day. People around the world will take those photographs. We have automatic photographic uploaders, computer-driven photo uploaders. What am I getting at? We could easily assume 1 million photographs a day with our current technology. We have a computer-driven system that will upload 1 million photographs, 2 million photographs a day. We're ready to go.
It's so impressive what you've built and the team that you have behind you and these philosophies that you're sharing with the world. And again, Tesla didn't have the ability to share these philosophies. Right. You're in the age where you do, and you're doing it. And I commend you for that. And again, everyone, scalarlight.com, go check it out for yourself. Check out everything Tom and his team is doing. Tom, thank you for this engaging conversation. Thanks for opening my mind a bit more to the possibilities that are out there. And I appreciate you joining us today on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Wow. That's all I have to say is wow. What do you think after hearing this? Do you have skepticism, right? Again, I'd be worried if you didn't, right? I'm skeptical. I haven't done this for myself. All I've done is have a conversation, right? However, you've heard the results. You heard what he's done with this, right? And imagine what that could do for you. If you're someone who does have an illness or a virus or some disease that you've been told by traditional medicine that it's incurable. You've been told by people that you just have to live with it. Imagine if you could do this for your pets, right? And help them through to feel healthier, to feel better. Imagine what you'd be able to do for yourself. So I'm going to leave it to you to research, because I'm in the same exact situation that you're in right now, where my mind was just opened up to these new ideas entirely. So again, the link to Scalar Light is in the description. This was a fascinating conversation. I will be looking more into this myself, and who knows, maybe I'll share my experience with you once I do that. So again, share the show with one person if you found this conversation fascinating or insightful. And remember, you can harness this power yourself to a degree, right? Use this to make suggestions to yourself for how you want to feel. One of my biggest takeaways is the power that all of us have ourselves to make a difference in our own life, but also the power of prayer, the power of intention, the power of suggestion in order to help other people to live an extraordinary life as well. So remember, you don't need fancy technology to make a difference in your own life or other people's lives, but imagine what you can do by looking into and researching this technology and philosophies for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.